Hi everyone, we're back in Caleta for this week's video. I've had a lot of requests about what it's currently like in terms of the new restrictions and rules that have been put in place since last week. So we're going to show you a little bit of that today. What else are we going to do?
Well, we're going to go for a coffee at the Atlantico, and then we're going to have a little coastal walk down to Las Salinas. And as you can probably tell, I'm wearing some nice neck attire, so we'll talk a bit more about that as well.
We've started here on the beach, so I'll pan the camera around, show you how busy it is at the moment. So this is the Atlantico end of the beach, and as you can tell, it's actually pretty busy.
So if you're coming to the beach, if you're walking from wherever, from the hotel or from the car, you need to have a mask on until you get to the beach. Once you're on the beach and you're sunbathing, you don't need to wear a mask. And obviously you need to maintain social distancing from people that you're not with, so 1.5 metres. If you fancy a dip in the sea, you haven't got to put a mask on to go and do that. You just get straight in and out. If you want to have a wander around the beach though, you do need to wear a mask.
So yeah, that's fairly straightforward. It's pretty similar, I must say, in terms of hotel swimming pools or complex swimming pools. So you need to wear a mask if you're walking to the pool. Once you've sat down or lying down, same, you take it off, so you don't need to wear it for sunbathing. If you're getting up to go into the pool, some hotels may ask you to wear a mask. My understanding is that most won't, provided you're just going straight into the pool and back out again. But again, if you're going to stand up to walk around or go up to the pool bar or whatever, you need to stick a mask on. So those are the rules. I think with hotels, they've been implementing those procedures for weeks anyway, so there's really no change there, but the beach is a change. We've just had a little walk along just to see how things are on the beach, what people are tending to do. There does seem to be good compliance with people wearing a mask when they first enter the beach. I suppose the general picture of people enjoying swimming and sunbathing, it looks no different to any other day.
In fact,
it's very busy. So yeah, it looks completely normal. Obviously, despite it being busy, I'd say the social distancing does seem to be observed. Obviously you can tell from yourselves as well from the video. No sign of any police, no sign of any lifeguards enforcing anything. So obviously the rules are fairly clear. I suppose people are expected to follow them. But yeah, in terms of enforcement, nothing whatsoever here. We've come to Cafe Gala at the Atlantico.
we were just having a conversation about this, and I think one of the main aspects of this video that we wanted to get across is, obviously you've probably seen various headlines in the newspapers, you might have seen people talking on Facebook. We want to show you what the reality of the situation is. It's not ideal having masks introduced, but you haven't got to wear them 100% of the time in reality, and it doesn't necessarily take away from aspects of your holiday that you might think. So you're not having to lie on the beach in a mask or around by the pool. You're not having to sit in a bar or a restaurant with a mask on. So we wanted to show that. I mean, one thing we have noticed here, and it is part of the rules, is all the ashtrays have been removed. You're not allowed to smoke at a table. But we did see somebody a few minutes ago just leaving a table, going over to a nearby wall, having a fag there, and then going back to a table again. So there's ways round things.
Yeah. And actually that's quite nice. It's nice to be able to sit, as non-smokers anyway, it's nice to be able to sit on a terrace, have a coffee or a drink, and not have people smoking immediately around you. So, from our point of view, that's probably not a bad thing. I suppose if you're a smoker, it's a bit inconvenient, but
yeah, but I suppose it's the same as when smoking was banned from inside bars in the UK. You just had to go outside and have a cigarette instead. So.
Yeah, the reality is they're just asking you to take a few steps away from the terrace and smoke there, and provided you're 2 metres away from the closest person, that meets the requirements of the new law. Just finished a drink at the Atlantico. A lot of people are familiar with this path, which leads all the way past the beach, across up into the main beach and then into the centre of Caleta. But maybe what people are less familiar with is that the fact it also goes in the opposite direction. And if you keep going along here, you get to the little village of Las Salinas. So we're going to enjoy a little walk up to there. We're going to take you along with us. We can talk a little bit more about the rules, the restrictions, a few of the things that are covered and what we think about them. The good thing is, once we pass this last hotel here, we will actually be able to remove the masks, because one of the exemptions is that if you are walking in a nature area or an unpopulated area, you don't have to have a mask on, provided you maintain a distance of 1.5 metres. So we've got masks on at the moment, but we're going to take them off very shortly, and then we'll talk to you a little bit more. So most people, I think, are familiar with the walking and cycling path that runs alongside the main road, but I think less people are aware that the path actually runs all along the coast here. By walking here, obviously we're not on a public road, so keep going. I think it takes probably about half an hour,
Something like that.
about half an hour to get to the village of Las Salinas del Carmen, which is its full name. We've done this walk a few times. It's really easy. Path's relatively flat, isn't it? So
Yeah, it's a few bumpy bits, but it's okay.
you could probably do it in flip-flops if you take your time. It's really not a difficult walk, and it's much, much nicer than walking on the road.
Yeah, and you get a nice little sea breeze as well.
Yeah.
Quite refreshing.
This is the little beach here, so see, we can sit down on the beach and have a little chat with you. There is a little bench here, so we'll sit there. One thing I've never understood about this village is that they've got concrete benches that face the wrong way, and there's a few of them, but I don't know, why would you put a bench facing that way when you've got a really nice sea view over there?
Maybe it's for people who've got their heads on back to front.
Maybe.
Or owls.
Owls.
Yeah,
We've got the
'cause
spinny
they can
head,
spin
spinny
round.
head round. So just going back to the mask situation, restaurants and bars, it's a maximum of 10 people per table. It's been that way for probably 2 or 3 weeks already, but they've reinforced that with the current guidelines. They also have to close at 1 a.m. and the last admittance is midnight, so yeah, it may affect a few of the later night bars, but for most places that's fairly normal sort of finishing time, I guess.
Yeah, I mean they've closed nightclubs because they've pinpointed quite a few of the cases, not just in the Canaries but on the mainland as well, to young people going to nightclubs, so they've closed those for the time being.
Yeah, although that wasn't the Canaries that did that, that was the central government in Madrid, so the Canaries had made some changes, and then about 12 hours later Madrid said they all had to close anyway. I think the other thing to say is that each bar and restaurant is interpreting these rules slightly differently. So our experience so far has been similar to what we had in Sevilla.
Yeah.
So you wear a mask to go into the bar or the restaurant, and then when you've sat down you can remove it. And the whole point about restaurants and bars going through all these, rigorous reopening checklists was that the tables were already distanced, so there's already 1.5 metres between tables. That's what we've shown, I think, pretty much in every video where we've been kind of following this process. Some bars and restaurants are requiring you to keep your mask on until you've actually got food or drink on the table, which is kind of fair enough. But there are a couple, I'm not sure about Corralejo, we've not been there yet, we will this coming weekend. But certainly in Caleta there are a couple of bars that are insisting that you keep masks on the whole time and then just remove it to have a sip of drink.
Yeah, and if I went to a bar that was insisting on that, I wouldn't be going there, because to me that's not enjoyable.
No, and we've said that. So yeah, we're just trying to kind of show you what things are currently like. I suppose with any rule here, there is always slight confusion. If you're a bar or a restaurant owner, it's completely up to you how you want to interpret that. We understand that, but we're just kind of being honest and saying, from a personal point of view, if a bar is going to insist that you wear a mask the whole time, that is going to put us off going, and I guess it would probably put a lot of people off going as well.
I think so.
But by and large, I'd say the majority are still following the process that once you're seated, you can remove a mask, so that's not too bad.
So we just wanted to give you an update on the number of cases on the island at the moment. There's 25 as I speak now, and those are all people who are at home. There's nobody in hospital, and our understanding is that those are people who have either presented with mild symptoms, or they're asymptomatic people that have been picked up as a result of contact tracing or random testing. So the situation is very different to what it was in March or April, where people were only getting tested in hospital. So the cases then were much more severe. As a result of more testing, obviously you're going to find more cases.
Yeah, and these people are younger as well, aren't they?
Yeah, the majority of cases are in under 30s. So I think that's another reason why perhaps that people aren't getting the symptoms quite as severely as those in vulnerable groups.
Yeah, I mean, in the Canaries, what we're seeing is that the majority of cases are in Tenerife and Gran Canaria, and 90% of those are in the under 30 group. And the cause of the spread is categorically large family gatherings and parties. So part of the measures is that you can now only have 10 people in a social group. But of course, by closing nightclubs and by introducing stricter measures on the streets in terms of masks, you could argue that that's just going to force more people to socialise at home. So, I suppose looking at this from a practical point of view, a lot of the measures that have been introduced in the last week may not reduce where these cases are coming from. But the Canarian government is slightly panicking at the moment with regards to German tourists, because the same situation has kind of happened in Germany. They're being told at the moment not to travel to the mainland, but they have got the green light to still come to the islands here. But looking at the numbers and the way that they're going, it might only be sort of sometime next week where that advice changes, and that would be a big deal here, I suppose, from a tourism point of view.
I mean, I'm not anti-mask by any stretch of the imagination, but nobody's been tested positive as a result of walking down the street and catching it off somebody else. So I feel as if the introduction of masks from the government is a political knee-jerk reaction to say, oh look, we're doing something, and I don't see how it helps.
What they don't realise is that bringing in these measures, they think, will encourage tourists to come here, but actually it's sending out the wrong message. The island's safe, so why do you need to wear a mask on the street? It doesn't make sense. And if you bring in more restrictions to bars and restaurants, it's just going to put people off coming here. So yeah, we understand it's a complicated situation, there's no easy answers, but it does seem like the things that they're bringing in are not directly addressing where the cases are actually coming from. So we'll have to see if anything changes in that regard, whether they might bring in more restrictions around parties at home, things like that.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult, isn't it, to legislate against families gathering and seeing each other, so who knows what will happen next.
Yeah. But that's the current situation. Mask compliance on the street, from our observation, is a bit mixed so far. Obviously there's not enough local police here to kind of be everywhere. Most people that we've seen in Caleta are wearing masks around their neck or on their wrist. Probably then with a view to obviously putting it on if they see police.
I'd say it's 50-50. I think some people are walking around with their mask on permanently, and others
are not.
Are not,
So
yeah. But they've got it on them, so if you need to put it on, they can put it on. I mean, the situation is very different to the UK. If you're caught not wearing a mask by the police, you could face a fine, particularly if you give them any lip.
Yeah.
So if you do come here, at least have a mask on you, and if they ask you to put it on, don't give them any back chat because it won't work out well.
Quick things before we wrap up this week. I was contacted by the author Sil Waters, who's got a new fiction book based in Corralejo that's due for release this week.
Yeah, we had a read of it. If you're interested in a light-hearted, quick, easy to read type of book, I'd say it appeals more to women than men, but it's the sort of thing you could read on a sun lounger.
Yeah, I'll pop the link to the Amazon listing in the video description if you want to check that out. The other exciting thing is we've booked a staycation this weekend. We've got a hotel booked up in Corralejo. We're going to head up there. A lot of you really enjoyed our last video, which was the night out in Caleta. Yeah. We're going to go up to Corralejo, do the same thing, but we'll also be able to show you what the hotel situation is currently like up there as well. So if you're interested in that and you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, give the video a like, share it if you can, that would be great, and we'll see you again next week. Take care.
See you in Corralejo.
Bye.